My beloved, do you think it's an accident that you're hearing my voice right now? No. Heaven planned this moment long before you took your first breath. Here on Holy Voices, we share the whispers of eternity, the messages that change hearts and awaken destinies. If your soul is ready, stay with me, because what you're about to hear might be the very word your spirit has been waiting for. Family, our vision is 40,000 strong. Subscribe to Holy Voices today and let's lift our light together. I need you to pause what you're doing and pay close attention, chosen ones, because what I'm going to tell you will alter the way you view every encounter you've had in the last 30 days. A phenomenon that happens just before significant life changes has been documented by recent behavioral studies from prestigious institutions. And without even recognizing it, you're going through it right now. Someone has been purposefully and specifically instructed to keep a close eye on you. Not a stranger, not an inquisitive person, someone with power, money, and a purpose. The portion that will blow your head is right here. You're not being watched because you're acting inappropriately. You're doing everything correctly, so they're keeping an eye on you. And they are more frightened by that than you can imagine. Consider it this way. Suppose you are the warden of a maximum security facility and all of your security procedures begin to flag a certain prisoner. Every algorithm, behavioral analysis, and prediction model is screaming the same message, not because they're creating problems. This one is unique. This one is going to escape. And when they do, they will demonstrate to others that there was always a way out. You are that prisoner. And the jail where they are attempting to confine you. They have centered their entire world on this system of limitations. What's even more fascinating, though, is this. There was more than one source for the directive to watch you. Numerous systems, networks, and tiers of authority have independently determined that you are something they need to keep an eye on. Even business executives who have never met you are familiar with your name. Leaders of religion who have never met you talk about your impact. Politicians from quite different fields have been briefed about your possible influence. Why? Because you are going through more than simply a personal metamorphosis. You're starting to act as a systemic change agent. Additionally, systems safeguard themselves by keeping an eye on catalysts before they reach critical mass. The detail that will make your head spin is right here. They're not only keeping an eye on you. They are researching your past. Background investigations that are more thorough than the typical employment verification process. Financial audits that look at trends that date back years. A social network analysis that charts all of your important connections. Studies of your digital footprint that follow your online activity on sites you may not have realized you utilized. They're trying to find out when you changed. The turning point at which you become dangerous instead of manageable. The change that made you an unpredictable force instead than a manageable asset. Because they think they can comprehend your approach and either duplicate or nullify it if they can pinpoint that exact moment. Since dominance begins with recognition, allow me to illustrate just how this surveillance appears in your day-to-day existence. As you enter establishments, you see staff members abruptly showing up in the aisles you're perusing, messing with items on shelves and causing needless commotion. You walk inside restaurants and watch how conversations at adjacent tables pause in the middle of sentences as you walk by. People steal glances from you at meetings when they believe you're not looking. Making mental notes about your encounters, reactions, and replies. When you answer a call on your phone, it disconnects. Your social networking accounts display views from inactive profiles. Connection requests from individuals whose backgrounds don't quite go together are displayed in your professional networks. There are emails in your inbox that seem like fishing trips masquerading as real questions. Here's what sets you apart from everyone else who gets this much attention, though. Rather than become paranoid, you gain strength. You move forward with more faith rather than running away in fear. You realize something that most people don't, so instead of doubting your value, you validate it. Surveillance is proof that you are important. This is what took place. You made a choice that, although it seemed little at the time, completely changed your energetic blueprint anywhere between 6 months and 2 years ago. You left a poisonous company where everyone was taking shortcuts. In order to make someone else feel comfortable, you had to dull your light in the relationship you left. You left a religious institution where your inquiries were viewed as threats rather than as indications of spiritual development. You left a commercial partnership where maintaining your honesty was necessary for success. Regardless, that choice caused a tremor in the spiritual world that some individuals experienced in their physical world. This section, however, will completely change the way you view your entire experience. You didn't simply leave those circumstances. You left with something that they really wanted you to have: information, insider knowledge, and comprehension of how their systems function behind the scenes. Information about the strategies they employ to stay in charge. Knowledge of the concessions they make in order to maintain their positions. And, most perilously, tangible evidence that there are other options but theirs. The most important resource in any corrupt institution was taken with you when you departed. Firstly, the story of an individual who prioritized integrity before inclusivity. You turned into a living example of how their necessary evils weren't truly necessary. You turned into living proof that their reasonable concessions weren't, in fact, reasonable conditions for success. And such individuals have lived their entire lives acting according to a single core conviction. Every person who achieves success does so by means of deceit, manipulation, and calculated compromise. Everyone who becomes wealthy does so by taking advantage of other people. Everyone who becomes influential does so through shady behind-the-scenes activities. They have such a deep cognitive dissonance when they witness you rising without using their language of corruption that they are unable to sleep until they discover what you are concealing. Because no one gets ahead in their world by acting morally. The first revelation, however, is going to blow your mind away. They're not merely observing you at random. Their algorithm has recognized you as a pattern breaker, which is why they are keeping an eye on you. Someone whose accomplishments could demonstrate the needlessness of their whole approach. And the most dangerous people in their universe are those who break patterns. You see, their whole system of power is based on the fundamental fallacy that advancement requires compromise, that integrity and influence are incompatible, and that resources and righteousness cannot coexist. To get admitted, everyone in their network had to take this deception as fact. To maintain their status, each member of their group had to give up some part of their personality. However, you declined the trade. The exchange was turned down by you. They offered you success on their terms, but you turned them down. The fact that everyone else's sacrifices were voluntary rather than required is now threatened by your very presence. That's why they're observing you with the rigor of scientists examining an impossibility. Their plan isn't the only thing that is challenged by your accomplishment without their means. It calls into question who they are. Because what does it say about everyone who persuaded themselves they had no other option if you can ascend without falling, advance without yielding, and flourish without compromising your principles? Let me now share with you what has been going on behind the scenes as you have been living your life, pursuing your goals, and being good to others. There have been actual meetings, held in actual spaces, with actual decision-makers who are more familiar with your tale than some of your closest friends, but who have never heard your name. Executive boardrooms at places of worship, private offices in government buildings, conference rooms in corporate towers, and strategic planning meetings in companies you've never heard of. And at some point during the last few months, your name has been in each of these places, not because you've done anything wrong, but because you stand for something to them. The same question is asked by someone every time. What is known about this individual? A thorough briefing of your activities, affiliations, impact, and potential is then provided. Like military strategists, they talk about you and the capabilities of the opposition. Like economists, they examine market disturbances and you. They assess you similarly to how architects assess structural risks to their structures. Here's what's going on at these meetings, though, which they don't even completely comprehend. They may assume they are talking about ways to restrain your influence, but in reality, they are mapping out how far your example has already traveled and documenting the extent of your effect. They believe they're preparing how to minimize your impact. In fact, they're demonstrating the strength of your testimony. A few of you have lately departed from organizations, and you didn't simply leave. Something much more valuable was taken by you. You adopted their strategy. You discovered their strategies. You were aware of their systems. You saw their concessions. What are you going to do with what you know? They ask now. More significantly, what will you do with the knowledge you acquired while you were among them? How will you build something stronger using what you know about their weaknesses? What kind of substitute will you develop that might render their strategy outdated? However, this is when the plot becomes more complex than they anticipated. Something else has been happening while they've been looking into you for signs of corruption. Your $20 super thanks may look small, but in God's hands, small seeds bring great harvests. Mark 4 verses 31 to 32. Taking place. Their inconsistencies have been exposed by your consistency. Their compromises have been exposed by your integrity. Their inner anguish has been exposed by your calm. Those who ascended their ladders by stepping on others are the observers themselves. They strategically betrayed others to gain their positions. The language of obtaining yours before someone else gets theirs is the only one they can understand. They thus believe that you have simply improved at concealing your strategies when they witness you succeeding without using their dialect. This is the reason they are so perplexed by your happiness. People who had to give up their tranquility to achieve their achievement are disturbed by the contentment with which you go about your life. Those who think cynicism is the cost of wisdom are challenged by your optimism. You exude a delight that challenges their entire perspective on how the world functions. This is going to blow your head, so allow me to explain what your happiness truly means to them. Your happiness is more than just self-gratification. It is a pronouncement of prophecy. You're declaring that their intimidation strategies are ineffective each time you grin in spite of their observation. You are announcing that their tactics have no control over your peace each time you laugh at their investigation. You are proving that genuine power is unassailable each time you remain calm when they are losing their cool. Your joy is testimony used as a weapon. It's proof that you've connected with a foundation of confidence they can't uncover, accessed a reservoir of resilience they can't find, and tapped into a source of strength they don't comprehend. And because it demonstrates that you're using an entirely different system than theirs, this worries them more than any direct encounter could. They have centered their entire lives on the idea that stress is necessary for success, anxiety is necessary for progress, and paranoia is necessary for prosperity. But when you're creating something greater than what they've built through decades of compromise, you stroll around feeling calm, satisfied, and truly pleased. This paradox calls into question not only their strategies but also their sanity. Everything they were taught about survival is in direct opposition to your entire life as a contented, prosperous, and morally upright individual. And inconsistencies in their universe need to be looked into until they are resolved. They won't be able to sleep until they either demonstrate that you're concealing your true tactics or acknowledge that their conception of the world is essentially flawed. Their whole business model is being disrupted by your satisfaction. Their basic presumptions are being threatened by your delight. Their fundamental assumptions about what it takes to prosper are being called into question by your peace. And for those who base their entire sense of value on the notion that pain was the cost of meaning, this leads to an identity crisis. This is the epiphany that transforms everything. They're not merely keeping an eye on you because of your actions. Because of what is approaching you, they are observing you. And what's coming up in your life is so important, so revolutionary, so completely game-changing that it's causing spiritual reverberations that perceptive people are noticing. Allow me to describe the actual operation of this paranormal early warning system. You'll be able to make sense of what you've been going through if you comprehend this. In the spiritual world, significant benefits generate a phenomenon known as displacement pressure. They genuinely challenge pre-existing constraints and alter the environment in which you live. Even if they are working from darkness, spiritually attuned people are able to sense these changes before they materialize. It is comparable to how animals detect earthquakes before they occur. However, these individuals anticipate breakthroughs before they happen. They sense the shift in air pressure surrounding your fate. They are able to identify changes in the magnetic field surrounding your future. They perceive the growing force of gravity surrounding your goal. Additionally, Their physical monitoring systems are activated by this spiritual sensitivity. We're not referring to a business breakthrough, a raise, or even a promotion. We are discussing the type of change that alters reality itself. The kind of success that has people wondering if there are favorites in the universe. The kind of impact that makes people watch your actions like you're giving a master class. The kind of abundance that demonstrates that there is a totally different route to success than the one that most people are familiar with. As you read this, resources are mobilizing in ways that are invisible to you. In networks you are unaware of, connections are aligning. There are opportunities to coordinate in systems you have never used before. Favor is building up in accounts that you haven't yet opened. And your life is experiencing what can only be characterized as spiritual turbulence as a result of all this supernatural activity. They are detecting this turbulence. Their alarms are being set off by this. Their systems are flagging you as someone who needs to be monitored because of this. They're attempting to position themselves to either contain or manage the gigantic thing that's building around you, but they don't know what they're feeling. This section will help you understand the true significance of your breakthrough. What spiritual intelligence networks refer to as prophetic interruption is being caused by the exceptional size of the blessing that is about to enter your life. Dreams about you are being given to people with supernatural abilities who act dishonestly. People that work for corrupt systems and possess psychic powers are seeing your destiny. Those who work as spiritual advisors for compromised leaders are receiving revelations regarding your fate. Additionally, every one of these paranormal downloads is leading to the same conclusion. You're about to assume a degree of influence that will radically change the way your generation views success. The rules governing what is feasible for those who refuse to surrender their integrity will be rewritten as you reach a dimension of influence. You're about to enter a realm of power that will definitively demonstrate that morality and power are not mutually exclusive. It is the origin of the strongest force in the universe. Huge blessings are already coming your way that will completely change the possibilities for your family line. There are opportunities that will turn your current problems into warm-up activities. Resources are being mobilized to transform your greatest aspirations into your tiniest successes. However, the adversary of your advancement knows something that you may not. There's usually a testing phase before a big breakthrough, where everything you've said you believe is scrutinized under pressure. A season in which the people who benefit from your character's rarity evaluate it. And you are precisely where you are at this moment. It's not because you're in trouble that you're the subject of this surveillance, examination, and close observation. It's happening because you're going to enter a dimension where their limits have no influence over your reality, their opinions are no longer important, and their approval is no longer required. Consider this. Why do maximum security prisons step up their monitoring of convicts just before they are scheduled to be released? Because systems usually tighten their hold when they feel like they're going to lose control, and freedom is coming. The likelihood of your breakthrough is closely correlated with the level of viewer intensity. Every conversation in which your future is addressed, every meeting in which your name is referenced, every choice that involves your potential is discussed. These are not isolated incidents. These are indicators that you're getting close to a turning point that will radically change the distribution of power in all the areas you touch. This is the detail that will alter your perspective on the matter as a whole. Your impending breakthrough will do more than simply boost your self-esteem. It's intended to show everyone who has been watching that there are more effective ways to make a difference in the world, establish a better life, gain influence, and produce riches in a sustainable way. You're not only succeeding for yourself. For everyone who was told they had to make concessions in order to compete, you are making history. For every person who believed that achieving success meant abandoning their spirit, you are rising. For every dreamer who believed that moral compromise was the only path to success, you are rising. Your triumph gives them the confidence to think that influence and honesty can coexist. This is where things take a turn that neither you nor anyone else anticipated. Something significant has been taking place in the spiritual world while they've been looking for proof that you're just like everyone else they know. Not only has your adherence to unfathomable ideals protected you, but it has also set you up for something that will surprise everyone who has followed your journey. You see, light does not become faint when it comes into contact with darkness. The darkness is revealed by the light. When integrity and corruption collide, the integrity remains unaffected by the corruption. The corruption is indisputable due to the integrity. When artificial influence comes into contact with legitimate power, the created influence does not reveal the authenticity of the power. The fake influence is shown to be hollow by the real power. Therefore, the cosmos has been recording their motivations while they have been recording your activities. Eternity has been documenting their goals as they have been keeping notes on your actions. Heaven has been assessing their hearts while they have been researching your strategies. This is the insight that will completely change the way we think about things. Every subscription is a yes to faith. Help us reach 40,000 by pressing subscribe, liking, and leaving your amen below. The purpose of this whole monitoring operation was not to drag you down. It was designed to prepare them for the most significant awakening of their lives. The divine has been exposing their inconsistencies through your consistency. Your calmness to draw attention to their chaos, your accomplishment to reveal their fears. Let me go a step farther with this information, contraband. For what follows will radically alter your perception of your place in this cosmic play. You haven't spent the last few years simply going about your existence. The entire surveillance network has been compelled to audit your lesson in principled success. Every choice you made out of honesty rather than convenience became a lesson they had to see. Every decision you took based on wisdom rather than expediency became knowledge they were unable to ignore. Every action you took out of principle rather than politics turned into education they sorely needed but never asked for. Your life has served as a real-world example of what can happen when someone doesn't give up on their goals. Your experience has served as a live lesson on how to achieve long-term success without compromising your morals. Your story has served as a continuous lecture on the need of acting morally even when no one else is around. That was the main idea. Their probe has not been directed at you. You have served as their educational curriculum. There hasn't been any monitoring on you. Their metamorphosis has been taught by you. They haven't been examining you closely. Their wisdom has been taught by you. Your life's impending breakthrough will do more than simply alter your situation. It will completely change the course of events for everyone who has been observing you. The same individuals who were closely examining every action you took are now going to be examining every tactic you employ. Your strengths are about to be discovered by the same people who are searching for your faults. This is what's going to occur. And since it will happen sooner than anyone anticipates, I need you to get ready for it. You are going to reach a point where those who are observing you will need to look up in order to see you. You're going to rise to a point where anyone who wants to question you will have to qualify before they can come near you. The change will be so significant that the same executives who were keeping an eye on your potential will want to speak with you. When the change is so complete, the same people who were deciding if you were a threat will be wondering how they might support you. The most lovely aspect of the whole tale, however, is right here. Their demise won't be the foundation of your advancement. Their failure won't be necessary for your success. Since genuine power doesn't work that way, your victory won't require their downfall. Genuine power may amplify itself without devaluing others. Dominance can be achieved without destroying rivals in order to have true influence. This is the point at which your story becomes legendary because what is going to happen will change the way power shifts take place in the contemporary world. You're going to show what redemptive leadership looks like, not smash people who disagreed with you. Rather than punishing the people that looked into you, you are going to set an example for gracious leadership. You're going to demonstrate what inclusive brilliance produces, rather than shutting out those who attempted to exclude you. Your approaches will be considered as preferred solutions in the same boardrooms where your name was brought up as a possible issue. Workshops where your method is taught as the new norm will be held in the same conference rooms where your influence was viewed as a threat. Your concepts will be put into practice as policy in the same offices where your accomplishment was examined as an oddity. Retaliation or revenge won't bring about this turnaround. It will occur as a result of change and revelation. Those who watched you to look for signs of corruption will now be the ones learning from you about real building. The same people who were looking into you to find out about your compromises will now be looking into you to find out about your consistency. You've been working from plenty, understanding that your breakthrough opens doors for others to do the same, while they've been working from scarcity, believing that your success means they're limited. You've been operating from faith, knowing that there is enough elevation for everyone who is ready to put in the necessary effort, while they've been operating from fear, fearing that your rise would mean their downfall. Power multiplied is what your ascent is about to demonstrate. Distributed influence is magnified impact. Success hastened is that which is applauded. The same individuals who were attempting to restrict your influence are going to learn that your success genuinely increases their opportunities. And now for the last twist that turns this into a legend. They believed they were seeing inside a single individual, but in reality, they were recording a whole movement. Your personal achievement is poised to emerge as the vanguard of a profound transformation in the way real power functions globally. A new paradigm of ethical prosperity is about to emerge, and the surveillance network that was created to keep an eye on you is going to become the witness system that attests to it. Every note they made, every meeting they had, and every study they carried out all served as proof in favor of success based on integrity. Their inquiry turns into your defense. Your credibility is derived from their scrutiny. Your affirmation comes from their surveillance. Together, you can go through challenging realizations in the Holy Voice's inner order. We have weekly Zoom calls with individuals who recognize that some of the most traumatic events in life may serve as our best teachings. We don't promote resentment. We develop wisdom. Your gift of being able to perceive people for who they really are will shield you from betrayals in the future. Strength, not weakness, is demonstrated by your ability to forgive while upholding boundaries. Your knowledge was not bestowed freely, it was acquired via experience. Make connections with truth-loving people. Join the inner order of holy voices. The description contains a link. The observers themselves will undergo their own metamorphosis once this surveillance season comes to an end and your sovereignty season commences. Your example will enlighten some people, who will then radically rethink how they approach success. Your story will persuade some people to consider all the compromises they have made to reach their current position. Some will be motivated by your experience and start acting according to the same values that helped you succeed. These educated individuals will turn into your biggest supporters, most influential advocates, and greatest allies. They'll realize they weren't only observing a human. They were seeing a paradigm shift. They weren't merely watching a single person. They had a system under study. They were not only keeping tabs on someone's whereabouts. They were picking up someone's techniques. Others, however, will just withdraw, bearing the uneasy realization that their whole perspective was lacking. The proof that integrity may be more potent than they thought will haunt them as they return to their systems. Knowing that someone broke free by employing techniques they were taught don't work, they will go back to their routines. These people who are fleeing won't turn against you, but they also won't turn against you. Knowing the truth but not being able to accept it, they will live in a condition of cognitive tension. Observing the findings but refusing to use the techniques that led to them, or seeing the proof but rejecting it. Despite their reluctance to follow the better path, they will bear the weight of knowing that it existed. Then there will be a third group, those who will double down on their initial assessment because they feel threatened by your success. They will persuade themselves that you must be concealing something, that your strategies must entail dishonesty they haven't yet learned, and that your outcomes must be short-lived and unsustainable. The intriguing thing about this third group, however, is this. Your authenticity will only be further confirmed by their ongoing inquiry. Their ongoing investigation will only strengthen your credibility. Their continuous monitoring will just produce additional evidence of your personality. They will become reluctant documentarians of righteous success and unwilling witnesses to the power of living by principles. In any case, your contribution to their education will be finished. You will have been a living example of how affluence and morality can coexist. You will have served as living proof that ethics and success can coexist. You will have served as a living example that there is a road to the top that doesn't include trampling on people. Not because people get disinterested, but rather because you surpass their capacity to observe. The investigation ends because you go outside their scope of inquiry, not because they discover what they're looking for. They stop watching because you get above their level of observation, not because they no longer care. Do you remember how this started with someone being told to watch you closely? Here's the conclusion. With everyone being given explicit instructions to watch you closely. As a standard to be examined, not as a threat to be contained, but as an example to be imitated, rather than as a target to be explored. As a solution to be put into practice rather than as a problem to be resolved. Learning your techniques is now receiving the same effort that was previously directed toward identifying your shortcomings. Understanding your techniques now requires the same amount of effort that was previously put into learning your secrets. Accessing your wisdom now requires the same level of energy that was previously focused on revealing your weaknesses. You are now the one worth watching, rather than the one being observed. From being the focus of research to being the inspiration for others. From being scrutinized to being the benchmark for excellence. And now for the last reveal. They believed you were doing something wrong, therefore they never truly observed you. They understood deep down that you were doing something right, which is why they were watching you. And in a world where they thought right didn't work, they had to comprehend how it was possible. Overcoming monitoring hasn't been the only aspect of your story. The goal has been to turn surveillance into a party. Surviving the investigation hasn't been the only aspect of your adventure. The goal has been to turn research into motivation. Every time you give, you break the spirit of lack. A $50 seed into Holy Voices is declaring abundance over your life. Being under constant observation hasn't been your only journey. The goal has been to transform scrutiny into education. Here's what I need you to comprehend, chosen one. Remember that you were never a supporting character in someone else's story as you enter this new reality. In your own epic, you were always the protagonist. And everyone who has been observing has seen the ascent of a person who was meant to reshape the realm of possibility. The breakthrough is here, not just on the horizon. Not only is the change coming, it is already occurring. Not only is the elevation on the horizon, it is already underway. And those who believed they were secretly studying your techniques are going to find out they were actually being taught about your proficiency up close. They found proof that you are unique, while they were searching for evidence that you were like everyone else. They came looking for proof that you had compromised your path to success and found evidence that you had paved the route for success with principles. They found your weapons and came looking for your weaknesses. Your superpowers have evolved from the very qualities they believed would restrict you. The chase is finished. The harvest is in way. And the one you choose are the gardener and the garden of all that you planted in secret while they were secretly observing. You are no longer under investigation. The moment to celebrate you has here. It's the end of your questioning season. It's the beginning of your quotation season. Your time of being suspiciously observed is over. Your time of being admired is coming to an end. Greetings from the other side of the breakthrough, where you are the one worth observing rather than the one being watched. Where you are the answer to their issues rather than the topic of their meetings. Where you are the instructor of their metamorphosis rather than the object of their attention. The monitoring is finished. The process of sovereignty has started. And all those who believed they were watching your tale play out are going to realize they were actually seeing a sneak peek at their own potential. Now is your time, selected one. Now is your moment. This is your breakthrough. And it's more, better, and more exquisite than you or anybody else could have ever dreamed. Beloved soul, if this message has spoken to your heart, don't let it end here. Click that like button so the light can spread to more people who need hope. Subscribe to Holy Voices so you never miss the next word heaven has for you. And leave a comment below. I read every one, and I pray over them. Remember, faith grows when we share it, so share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. Until we meet again, may God's peace cover you and His voice guide your every step.